Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a pencil skirt with an infused train, right, or a tail, whatever you prefer to call it. So let's get into the video. Then I need to mark my dress length, which is 48, but I'm making it 49 because I'm going to be adding train into it. So I'm marking 49 here. Then I'll mark from my waist, which is here, to the hip, 11. Then I'll mark the underbone. To take out 1 inch from whatever measurement I have here because I want it to pencil out really nicely, right? Now using my hip curve, I'm going to go ahead and connect my lines. The straight part of it is what will come here up to the hem. Now I'm going to add 2 inches sewing allowance on all my measurements. You can add as much or as less sewing allowance as you want. I'm going to go ahead and cut the front bodies. So now I'm going to lay the back side and come back to show you how to cut the back. So now I just laid my fabric and had on the center back, I had all this excess fabric depending on how long you want your tail to be. So I just marked 14 inches out, right? So I have 14 inches extra here. Now on the waist side here, now on this waist side here, I'm going to mark 2 inches for zip allowance here. Then on the hip side, I'll just mark that 11 inches that I have for the hip. So on the hip side, which is the fullest part of the bum, instead of 2 inches, I'll mark 3 inches because you remember I'm going to bring out, like shape it out through that side. So when I mark 11 inches, I'll now come on the under bum measurement here, right? I'll mark 1.5 instead of the 2 inches for that. Now that's going to give extra bump depth, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my French curve to curve it out like so. I'll just do the same thing on this side. But before then, now from this under bump, I'll just go down like 1.5 inches like so, and I'll begin flaying it out up to this point here. Up to this point, right? So now on this side of the main front bodies, I'll mark 2 inches. That's sewing allowance here on the main fabric. Then I'll curve it out like so, right, to this point. So this is it. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out now. So here we have our back measurement. I'm just going to place a notch on the zipper side, just so I know where the zip begins, and that will be it, right? So this is going to serve as the lining. So I'll go ahead and cut out the main fabric. So this is the fabric I'm working with. It's a velvet fabric with sequin designs. So you know, velvet stretches out a little bit, and that satin I was working with does not stretch out at all. So I'm going to find a way to maintain the stretch in a very beautiful way. Like I'll have to glue it to the satin so that it loses this stretchiness that it has. So I'm going to lay it out. Now I want this side with the most sequin, this gold sequin design, to be at the hem. So I'm just going to lay this out like so. I'll lay it out nicely, and I'll place my lining piece on it. Because the fabric is weighty, I'm finding it hard for it to stand on the material. So I'm going to get some things to sort of give it weight so that it can stand. So you just place some materials on it or something else on it, so it sort of holds the weight of the material. Now I'll grab my front pattern, right? Now I want this design to be on the middle side, on the midpoint of my design, right? I want this to be on the middle point of the skirt. So this crease line here that I have, I'll just go ahead and place this crease line that I got from ironing. So you can see, I will ensure that everything falls on that point, which is the middle point. Then I'll lie it like that. Now I'll go ahead and cut out the shape.
moves, gotta grab it. Fuse like a magnet, lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big
I'll just fold this in half and I'll go ahead and lay this on it. So also ensuring that
I'm new, come back better than last year. It's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make.
So now I'm going to be gluing this to the satin. You remember I said I don't want. I'll just lay this like so, and I'll go ahead and glue it to the satin because I want to lose that stretchiness on the fabric. So now you're going to determine which side you want facing outside. So I don't want this side because it's slippery, so I don't want it being all slippery on her body. So I'll just go ahead and glue this. This one is very easy, so let me do the front instead, then I'll do that because the back does not have much technicalities like that. So I'll glue the front side for you to see. I'll just make sure everything is sitting nicely. So you see this center point here. I'm just going to use uhu gum. So this uhu gum, you can use iron and use hemming gum, but then it stretches the fabric a lot more. It stretches the velvet fabric a lot more. So on this middle point, I'm just going ahead to sort of touch it on the midpoint, right? I'll just dab the glue all over the midpoint, just on the middle for now. So here are all my panels. You can see they are now one piece of fabric. So if you want to add another layer of lining, this is the point for you to cut out your lining. But this dress is for an older lady, so she doesn't need all of that stress. So I'm going to go ahead and sew it like this. So you can see the glue is now dried, so everything is sitting nicely, right? So I'm going to go over to my sewing table and show you how to put this together. So I'm starting off from the back side, right? So I forgot to add that, sorry, let me turn this off. So I forgot to add my dart allowance on the back. You remember I said I'm not adding that on the front, but I'm adding on the back. So now I'm going to have to add this dart on the back. Then on the zipper side, I'll have to take out 1 inch away for sewing allowance, right? Sorry, 1 inch away from the zipper allowance and use it for my dart allowance. So on the waist side, I'm going to use 1 inch instead of that initial 2 inches that I placed there. That's if you understand what I mean, right? So here is our back panel. So here is our zipper line, right? So from this point, I'm going to mark the bust span, right? But it's supposed to be here. This is the zipper point, so I'll remove 1 inch from there like so, and I'll mark my bust span measurement, so which is 4.5 here. So this is going to be where my dart will be. So I'll take 1 inch of that, which is ½ inch on both sides at that point. So here you go, right? So I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to match. This is my center, my front. This is the center front. So what I'm going to do is to match my panels and sew them to the hem side. So this is one of the back panels. So the zipper side will be on the center front here. So I'm going to match here like this point. And remember we had 2 inches sewing allowance, so that's what I'm going to be using. So I'll go ahead and mark my 2 inches. You can use a chalk to draw your lines all the way so that you have a guide, but I'm not going to be doing that because I can actually take my 2 inches by simply eyeballing it. So you just go ahead and sew on that 2 inches. So I'll just flip it and put the other back side. So this time around the front is the one on the upper side and I'm joining the other back side. So I'll start by back stitching. So I have it like this. So now I'm going to close the back side. So I'll just, you can see the side seams now. I just folded it in half. This is my center front here and this is my zipper side. So now I'm going to double check my measurements here. So I'll check my waist measurement. So half of my waist. What is half of my waist? The waist that I'm working with is 38, but I'm going to make it 37 so that it sits really snatched on her, right? Plus the top is going to be a corset. Even if I do 36, it's going to work as well because the blouse is going to be a corset, so it's going to take in her waist even more. So I need 18.5. So I'll just go ahead, make sure that everything is sitting nice like so. Then I'll measure 18.5. So you can see if I had done the 18, it will still work as well. Let me just work with 18. So from this beginning point, I'm going to loosen my stitch because I'll later be taking out this stitch. I'm going to make a loose stitch here or a basting stitch, whatever you know it best, because I'm going to be adding a dart on it. So I'll do that all the way to the fullest side of the bum because that's how long my zip is going to be. Just make sure I align everything. Then on the bum side as well, I'll measure. Then I'll place my hip measurement on that point. So I'm going to place half of my hip on that point, which is half of my hip will be 22.5. So I'm going to mark 22.5 like so. Then I'll make the basting stitch to go all the way to that point. Then I'm going to go to my underbum. Now I'll tighten my stitch back to the regular stitch. Then on this point I'll back stitch because that's where my zipper is going to stop. Then I'll measure half of my underbum measurements. So on my underbum line, half of it is going to be 20.5 because it was 41, so 20.5, like so. So it's going to come in a curve all the way down to that point. Now I'll just lay it and sew all the way to the hem. Now to this hem, I'm not using that much allowance. I'm just going to go ahead and use like 1 inch sewing allowance and sew all the way to the hem, right? Here we go. So I'm going to turn it over and double check my measurements. Then I'll go and press it nicely before I loosen this stitch and come back to fix my zip. At the same time, I'm going to overlock all my raw edges as well. So I'll do that on the sewing machine, then I'll come back for us to continue. Zipper side, I've gone ahead to iron this or compress the zipper line, right? So I'm going to loosen it up to that point. That's the fullest part of the bum. I'll just loosen it up to that point, right? So you remember, that was why I said you need to do a loose stitch on that point. So I'll take it all the way to the point where the stitch is loose. So you can see when I get here, the stitch is a lot tighter, so which means that was where I stopped. So I'm going to I changed my zipper foot I changed my foot to a zipper foot, right? So that's what I'm going to be using. Is stowed already, you can see, so you can go ahead and open it, right? You just go ahead and open it like so. Then you cut off this excess, cut it off. Now I cut out a waistband for my skirt, which is just a straight fabric, and then I went ahead to add interfacing on it, and I folded it this way so you can see. So I'll just go ahead and bend it like this to the wrong side so that I can close one side of it. Flip it back to the right side like so, so you can see. So now I'm going to tuck this inside of it like this. See, I'll make sure I tuck in the entire thing. This zipper allowance here, I'll fold it like so. So I was weaving and my weaving needle got broken, so I don't have time to change that. I'll do that later and finish up the overlocking. So I'll just go ahead and top stitch this gently, right? So for the hem, I'm going to go ahead and add crinoline. So I have so many crinoline videos on my channel, so I'm not going to be showing that process anymore. You can see. So I'll go ahead and add a hook and eye or a press body or a button, whatever works for you. I'll go ahead and add that on this side, right? So this is our waistband, and then I'll give it a nice press to remove all these crispiness that we have here, and that will be it about our skirt. So I'll come back to show you the final result.